welcome everybody. Today, we're going to have the release of the second quarter 2025 Michigan Future Business Index, or MFBI. This started out as the Future Business Index, period, but we found people were not responding when they got communication from the FBI. So we threw Michigan in front of that, and then all of a sudden the participation went way up. Also want to tell you that this MFBI has been going on in some form or another since 2006. So there's a really good establishment of not only history, but trending, that sort of thing. This is part of the speaker series that we have at Michigan Business Network, and this has been going since 2004. We have 6 or 7 live events through the year, and then we have 1 or 2 webinars like this one is every year. So the audience gathered here today is from across the peninsula of Michigan, and actually once in a while we see 8 people on our website listening to our program, picking up our podcasts from Sydney, Australia. So we really have a fair good size of what you would call service area, I guess. But thank you all for being here and for joining us virtually. All right, so we want to start with these events not happening at all without a lot of help. And we really want to thank today's sponsors. And these are sponsors who have been with us. We have so enjoyed their involvement, their backing, and the fact that their values match up with ours. LAFCU Credit Union, Dean Transportation, Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac, Capital Region International Airport, Fly Lansing, and our statewide sponsors for this and upcoming events. Because as you know, after we do this, we go to certain spots around the state of Michigan, as far away as Marquette, and present this MFBI in person. That would be the Better Business Bureau of Michigan. Now, no longer the East, no longer the West, one Better Business Bureau of Michigan. We thank them for jumping on. And of course, the Michigan Future Business Index just doesn't happen without Cinnaire, and we are so thankful for them. The Michigan Business Network, of course, this is our invention, but the guy who really refined it and brought it to light, ROI Insight, Paul King, who is with us today, and we'll be hearing from him in just a few minutes. Our presentation of the hot off the press Michigan Future Business Index is going to be delivered by a representative from Cinnaire at the top of the hour. That's Mike Witt, who you've heard from before. However, first, we're going to go around the virtual room for our very popular community roundtable to get 1 or 2 minute updates from each of the following, and we will start to. So with that, Jason Cords, you get like an extra minute now.
I get 5 minutes. Thanks, Chris. I'll tell you, things are still good. For year to date versus last year, we're up a little bit, which is a good thing. Every single year it seems like, okay, it's going to get a little more challenging, but we're selling a few more cars. Profits are about the same. But I'll tell you, things are a little nerve-wracking in our world with the EV world, with the rebate money going away on September 30th. So we'll see what happens there. I know that happens across the whole country, so it's going to affect every car manufacturer that has an EV, and if you fall into the guidelines where you can use it, it's going to make a difference. So we do have a lot of people moving forward and trying to do something now versus waiting. So that's we'll most likely run out of EVs before that time. So
yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting. You're absolutely right. Some market changes are occurring that are not natural market changes. But I'll tell you what, you got good product, you got good service, you're going to keep your customers. So
yeah, thank you, Chris.
You're as well postured as anyone. Thanks, Jason. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Carrie Rosengana, the CEO of the Capital Area Michigan Works. I'm glad you made it. This has got to be challenging world you're living in these days.
Thanks, Chris. So yes, there's some things we're definitely watching very closely from a workforce development perspective, looking at some changes that may be coming down the pipeline with federal changes related to our program dollars. For reference, 90% of the dollars that Michigan Works agencies receive across the state are federal dollars. So we're just watching very closely. In the meantime, though, we continue to make sure that we are supporting all of our employer partners across the state who have a need for looking at that talent need directly today, as well as what's coming down the future. So that way we can make sure that the job seekers who are coming in to visit us, who are looking for that next opportunity, are really well prepared and well equipped to be able to meet the needs of our employer partners. So we're continuing to focus on the good work that we've always done while also preparing ourselves for what might come next with some of those changes.
Well, and you got close eyes on Washington, D.C., from what I understand. So that's, again, some kind of unnatural changes.
Yeah.
But you said this earlier in an interview with us, these things could pose some opportunities as
I'm
well.
always a glass half full kind of person, Chris. So we're going to look for those opportunities to innovate with those changes that may come.
I love that. All right. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. Let's talk with Paul King now. Paul, of course, has been incredible in refining our MFBI. And Paul, if you would, why don't you just give us a little rundown for the audience of what it is and why it matters?
Sure. We've been having our finger on the pulse of small business here in Michigan for, oh gosh, how many years now, Chris?
Well, it's been since 2006.
This was
Are we
the
afraid to
39th
say?
survey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah. So it provides some invaluable trend data that I don't think anyone else has in this state with regard to keeping track of small business and their sentiments, their challenges, their opinions, their celebrations of things that they've successes that they've had throughout the year. And this focuses in on obviously 6 months. So we do it twice a year. So how things have been going the past 6 months and how things are going the next, how they intend things to go in the next 6 months or expect things to go. I think, Chris, you've said it in the past that our data pretty much coincides with what the feds see, at least on a regional basis. And it's kind of the canary in the coal mine, if you will. When we see things pop up here trend wise on our survey, it kind of foretells of what's coming down the pipe. And I'm hoping we're wrong. I don't want to give away the data right now, but this iteration of it is eye-opening. Let's just say that.
Well, a couple of quick comments that I would have, and one is that the feds, I serve on an advisory board for the feds, and they always present our numbers in conjunction with theirs at our meetings. And I apologize, they call them Chris's numbers just because we're all in the room, but they do coincide quite a bit. And so it's important to them to have, another little hallmark to go with. But I think I've found this over the years, and you can speak to this better than I can, but when you survey businesses in any climb, you're essentially surveying 97% of that audience as small business.
Mm-hmm.
And small businesses are really driven often by who at the top, or at least the second level, is making the decisions. And
Mm-hmm.
how they feel about the next 6 months is instrumental in what they do in preparing for that.
Yeah.
And I would throw out by example a retailer who says, yeah, I think the next 6 months is going to be really healthy. Let's add a couple people. Let's buy more inventory, et cetera, et cetera. And conversely, hey, this is going to be weak Christmas, and maybe we should cut back on inventory and people come in just half time. So it really has an effect on how people make their decisions.
Mhm.
You know,
Absolutely.
I think we both found that over the years.
Yeah, and the other thing is that, and we'll see this in this survey as well, is that small business is always the most optimistic when it comes to the next 6 months. No matter what's going on and what has happened in the past 6 months, there's always a feeling of optimism that we're going to overcome it and move forward successfully. And that's stuff that I love to
No,
see.
absolutely right. So I tell you what, we're going to get started a few minutes early here. I want to get Mike on. Mike's on the clock, and I don't want to pay him any overtime. So Mike Witt, our presenter today, joined Cinnaire in 2020, serves as the Senior Vice President, Asset Management. He's charged with overseeing the growth and the development of Cinnaire's asset management team and supporting their partners, investors, and the residents that they serve. He served in many roles with the statewide MISTA, well with Cinnaire, and he earned his Bachelor's of Arts in Finance from Michigan State University, serves on the board of directors for the Midwest Affordable Housing Management Association, and he is the treasurer of his local homeowners association board. And so with that, with this 6 months Q2 Michigan Future Business Index, we welcome Mike Witt. Mike, thanks for being here and thanks for presenting this 6 month survey.
Yeah, no problem. It's almost lunchtime, so I think I'm free, Chris. You don't have to pay me for this. That's great. So just a quick once over about me. So my name is Mike Witt. I'm the Senior Vice President of Asset Management here at Cinnaire. For those that don't know Cinnaire, we're a nonprofit community development finance institution, focusing mostly on affordable housing. A lot of the work that we do involves bringing together institutional investors, primarily banks, some insurance companies, and then affordable housing developers to create affordable rental housing throughout our footprint. We work mostly in the Midwest and in the Mid-Atlantic region, but Michigan is where we started. Still our biggest state that we work in, and we're very active in Michigan and the surrounding areas here. But I've lived in Michigan my whole life, so I've grown fond of all of our Michigan properties that we have. I'm super happy to be here to present the latest survey results, even if they're not as glowing as everybody wants them to be. All right, so we can go to this next slide there. Perfect. So a little bit about the survey. I know Paul just talked about it a bit, but it went out to 644 small and medium businesses throughout the state, and responses were received from 514 of the companies. It was conducted by ROI Insight, and the time period, think back to what was going on, it was May 19th through June 30th, so about Memorial Day to the end of June. Lots of things going on in the federal government at that time, which I'm assuming probably drove some people's responses here, which we'll see shortly. Next slide, please. Some key takeaways. Concerns over inflation and tariffs are increasing as small businesses assess their challenges to doing business in Michigan. Finding talent remains the top challenge that we've seen over the last few surveys as well. Less than half of respondents are now optimistic about the results of the presidential election and how it'll impact their business, which is a pretty significant drop from 60% 6 months ago when we did this back in December. The progress of all the indicators of the past 6 months have deteriorated, with profit, sales, and investment increases now at an all-time low. We'll get into that in a little bit. It can't be all doom and gloom. So there is some optimism for the future business growth here, as being fueled by customer demand and new opportunities, along with resiliency of small Michigan businesses. Past 6 months, as I stated, all the indicators have taken a drop from this survey from 6 months ago. Profit increases are at a record low for the survey. Wage increases continue to trend downward, with 46% of respondents saying employee wages have increased over the past 5 months, which is 10 points lower than what it was the same time last year. Sales increases have dipped to an all-time survey low, with 26% saying they've had sales increases over the past 6 months. And lastly, hiring is at its lowest point in the last 12 years of the survey, with 17% saying they've hired new employees, which is down 4 points from a year ago. And then lastly, on this point, investments have also dropped to a record low, with 17% responding that they've had increased capital investments. Satisfaction with the economy has shrunk slightly from the last survey in December, with 52% saying that they're satisfied with the economy. The margin between those saying they are satisfied and those that are dissatisfied has shrunk from 12 points in December to 7 points now. So that differential has shrunk a little bit. The business professional sector has had the highest percentage of most satisfied, and the financial real estate sector are now the most dissatisfied. As you can see with this slide, there's now the greatest challenges to doing business with acquiring and retaining talent taking the top spot, and inflation coming in second. You can kind of see there on the right-hand side of the chart how those percentages have changed from this survey to the last. Pretty steady, but we've seen a few drops here and there. But those two are now the top two on the survey. Next slide, please. Tariffs. Tariffs haven't historically been on this survey so much before, but you can see that they're a dominating factor in this survey as they debuted with a negative 47, meaning that there was 47 more negative responses to tariffs than positive. Inflation is still leading the way in this measure, but just a big note that tariffs haven't really been on here. But it's new to the list and the impact is pretty significant. I think anybody who's read the news or seen anything on TV know that tariffs are a big thing. And I think the fear is definitely hitting Michigan businesses as results show in this survey. Next slide, please. This chart shows the perceived impact of tariffs on consumer or customer pricing and profit margins. As you can see, there's a fairly large impact on price increases while also a large decrease in profit margins. So it's hitting both the consumer and the business owner in a negative way. I sort of mentioned this to Chris when we got on earlier today that not only are consumers paying more, but businesses are making less off of those payments, which is not the opportunity that anybody wants to see. Bad for both customers and for businesses. Next slide, please. This chart, this chart shows the responses from the past two surveys to the question of if the recent election is beneficial to your business. As you can see, there's some pretty big changes from Q4 to now, in that the yeses have decreased and the nos have increased, and the nos pretty much absorbed all of those yes responses. So a lot of people jump ship from yes over to the no. It has not helped my business in a pretty proportional manner. There wasn't a lot that absorbed it in the no response kind of section. Next slide, please. There is still optimism amongst Michigan businesses, right? It's not all bad. This chart lays out those reasons for optimism, with demand for our products still at the top spot, with a 6-point increase from Q4 of 2024. Business growth remains in the top tier as well as it was in Q4, and new opportunities have moved up 4 points to jump into the top three. You'll note that the generally optimistic took a large tumble to the bottom of this, and elections and politics also fell 7 points. Both, as you can tell, is sort of a message resonating throughout this entire survey results. Next slide, please. Sales and profit margin projections have both decreased in this survey from 6 months ago, with projected sales growth down to 48% and projected profit growth back down to 38%, which were both where they were last summer, but they had increased in December and now they're back down to where they were last summer. Next slide, please. Staffing. Most respondents plan to maintain their current staffing levels, and 31% say they plan to hire more employees over the next 6 months. This is the same as it was last year. So on the bright side, there's, folks aren't responding that they're looking to terminate employees or reduce staffing. Keeping staffing at similar levels seems to be the status quo in this survey results. Next slide, please. Talent acquisition. So 54% of the surveyors said their access to qualified talent is only fair or poor, which is up 8 points higher than it was last summer. And 57% report having difficulty filling open jobs, which is up 5 points from last summer. More than half of the respondents attribute the lack of qualified candidates, attribute this to the lack of qualified candidates. But on the plus side, more responded that there was less responding that they couldn't find any candidates. So the candidate pool is out there, and people are more optimistic about the pool of candidates, but still struggling to find people to find talent for their positions. Next slide. Wages. 54% of respondents say they do not intend to raise wages in the next 6 months, which continues the trend that we've seen in the past couple of years of wage inflation not being a major challenge to businesses. Projections for wage growth were strongest in the healthcare sector, as they have been for the past couple of surveys, and they are weakest in the retail and food service sector, which we've seen as well. Next slide. Projected investments in growth. 61% plan to invest in employee training, which is no change from where we were at last summer. Though advertising, equipment, and new product investments are all down from a year ago, and you can see those numbers on the slide here. Next slide, please. So we get to the conclusions. Overall, the trend of the survey, inflation and tariffs are a growing concern for Michigan businesses, and overall satisfaction with the economy has stalled. Businesses are looking to rely on themselves to prosper, as the optimism for the past election to positively impact their businesses seems to be diminishing, as we've seen in these survey results. Next slide. But we can't leave everything on a low note, right? So on a high note, there is a strong majority of respondents continue to believe that Michigan's a great place to do business. We've always been a resilient state and a state that most respondents feel good about the market for their business and will continue to do business in the state. I think this is a little blip in the radar, as we've seen in the past, but I think businesses are resilient, and we'll see some positivity trends in the next 6 months or so. And with that, I believe we've come to the end.
One of the things I think that is really noteworthy is, in spite of the fact that everybody's predicting lower revenues and lower profits, they still heavily believe in their product or their service or their company, and still believe in the Michigan economy. And I'm glad you pointed those out as positive points, because we're grasping at things to drive us right now, and that feeling could be the thing we need.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you're right. We have good products and good services, and that's going to lead the way.
Yeah.
Not only that, if I can add one thing that I noticed in the data, is that not only are they confident in their products and services, but their own resilience as a company, their ability to pivot when need be and to pull themselves up and still be here. I mean, I saw a lot of comments in the open-end question about I'm still here, we're still here, we have a staff that's strong, and we can weather any storm. It's great news.
No, it is, and it speaks to that enthusiastic and optimistic view of the future that small businesses are it's just inherent in them, and I agree with you. All right. So, does anybody have any questions out there? If you can put it in chat, or you can just jump on right now, unmute yourself, and ask. As long as we got the experts here, I don't want to get stuck with answering questions. But as long as Paul and Mike are here, I feel pretty good.
Actually, Chris, if I have one question.
Okay.
Sure. So inflation's the concern, tariffs the concern. What scale of impact are the logistics, like we had back in the pandemic when the supply chain was really impacted? Has the supply chain been impacted by the new lay of the land?
I would say that based on the data we saw in this last poll, supply chain concerns are dwindling.
Yeah.
They're becoming less and less.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, we see that in our business. I think people are scared of prices being higher for tariffs for building construction. But supply chain, I haven't heard that as an issue in a while.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple reasons for that. We kind of caught up from the bottleneck we were in, and the other piece is there's less stuff being ordered. So the supply chains are working a little more fluidly. I see Carol Kane jumped on with us. Carol is, of course, the host of Michigan Matters, CBS Detroit, and also writer for the Free Press. Carol, good to have you on. How you doing?
Hi, Chris. How's it going?
Oh, well, so we're trying to make lemonade here.
You try to make
Did-
sense of all the stuff that's being announced every day. It's a new adventure with all this. What's coming out of Washington?
It really is, because one of the comments I made in one of the publications was the reality on Monday is not necessarily the reality on Wednesday. Because policies change that quick, and it's
Mhm.
I think the one thing making businesses hesitant is they hate uncertainty. It's so hard to plan when you're uncertain about what's coming up next,
Yeah,
All right. Well, it's good to have you on. Appreciate it.
appreciate it.
All right. Thanks for covering us. Good to have you here.
Okay.
Tremendous job of keeping not just statewide, but certainly that southeast sector informed on business, which we love. Let's hear a little bit more about the business landscape for Michigan. We'll spend the next half hour hearing from leaders around the state if we have any. Jeff, you had a couple of people that were going to come in, I know.
Right. And I believe Tim Daman probably thought 12:20. So we're texting him to see if he's available
Okay.
any minute now.
All right.
But it's certainly a fine time for Nakia to share the perspective of the Better Business Bureau. Thank you
that's
so
where-
much for the sponsorship.
Yeah, that's where we were going next. So Nakia Mills, hey, bring everybody up to date very quickly on the combining of the two BBBs, where you're at now, and of course, share any other news you have.
Definitely. Thank you for having me. It's definitely an exciting time for Better Business Bureau here in Michigan. For those of you who have not heard, back in April of this year, the Eastern office and the Western office combined. So now we're one BBB of Michigan, which I know that's something that people in the Lansing area especially love, because that's where our split used to be. And poor Lansing people never knew if they should go to the Eastern BBB or the Western one. Now we're one. You don't have to worry about that anymore. So that's been very exciting for us. Yeah. And so, our accredited businesses are happy. This just means more access for them to more consumers, more visibility out there. We're able to streamline everything with our marketing programs. So we have a lot of good campaigns going now across the state. So we're very excited about that. And to touch on some of your points of what I heard in this important report today, one of the things that we realized is just kind of getting the boots on the ground out in the state more. And now that we're one BBB, we're able to do that with a bigger team. That led us to actually go to the UP, which from Detroit is not the shortest trip. But we were able to actually connect up there with several economic development groups, chambers of commerce. So we are really trying to get it out in the world, because so many people think of the Better Business Bureau as, oh, that's just where consumers go to file complaints, or, they accredit me and then what happens? So I don't know, for those who don't know much about me, I just recently joined Better Business Bureau. I think it's been about 18 months now. So one big thing I'm doing is teaching people that we actually support, educate, and empower. I like to say it that way on purpose, consumers and businesses. We're not here to just chase businesses down or hear nothing but complaints. We actually this year have been out in the community. We've already reached several thousands of students through our Scam Busters program. So BBB not only has the accreditation side, we also have an educational foundation. And through that foundation, we go out in the community, just for everyone to know, we give free presentations. If it's a business, you can just contact us at bbb.org/mi programs. and let us know that you want us to come speak, maybe teach your employees about scams to avoid, practical ethics so you operate with integrity in the marketplace. Lots there. And on the student side, we come to schools, we teach students about being safe in the marketplace because young people do get scammed more often than we realize. And we also do this for older adults. You might catch us at a senior citizen facility even. And then we also started an initiative with military and veterans. So we've been pretty busy this year. That's a mouthful. So
Well, that is good stuff, and you're really refining what your mission is, but you're making it a lot more available than it has been over the years.
Definitely. And I don't know how much time we have left, but we've also been listening to our accredited businesses, and they told us they need help getting employees. That's year after year. We see that in any report, your report, ours. We know that's feedback. So we're very excited. We actually have partnered with Schoolcraft College in Livonia, and we will be doing a career fair for the skilled trades. And that'll be in September, on September 25th. So that's something coming up that we're very excited about to be helping accredited businesses out.
That is a great community college, as a matter of fact, right on the border of Livonia and Northville, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Very convenient location, definitely. Yeah.
Right off the expressway. Nakia, again, thank you for your sponsorship of this thing statewide. We appreciate it very much. And thank you for what you're doing there at the Better Business.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, good to have you here. Let's come back to the Capital Region because I see Tim Daman just joined us from the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. And Tim, if you would just bring us up to date regionally.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, and thank you, Chris. I appreciate the opportunity. So back, I think it was in January of this year, we had a chance to share with the Mid-Michigan audience at the economic forecasting, and we kind of looked at a few things that we were tracking for, the remainder of this year and probably into 2026. So I thought I might just take a couple minutes and kind of run through that. And at the same time, when we kind of look at, the business community and what we're hearing from folks, and we continue to hear, a little bit of that inflation piece and, some slow revenue growth and rising healthcare, costs and other employee benefits, they seem to be kind of top of mind and some of the things that we're hearing. But, when we kind of look at things locally here, we had talked about back in January, it's a big year coming up with some local elections. We have Mayor Shore will be seeking his third term in office, and by all accounts, he will be reelected for that third term. We have 4 city council seats that are up, and we'll have at least 2 new city council members, and so it's something that we're still following closely. We did some polling earlier this year, actually back last month, and identified, roads and infrastructure continue to be top of mind for residents in the city of Lansing, and other things that continue to kind of slip into that top spot there is public safety and growing concerns on the public safety aspect, and then kind of the neighborhood and type of levels and pieces as well. Also have elections this fall in East Lansing. 2 incumbents will not be seeking re-election to city council, and that includes current mayor George Brookover. So keeping a close watch and eye on what that looks like in East Lansing as well. Economic development, you know what? There's cranes in the sky in downtown Lansing, and that was something that we talked a lot about back in January with some of those new projects, and to see the tower on the Grand and the 28-story new residential building beginning now, and that crane in the sky is great. We have 2 other housing projects, new city hall downtown, and then as we look ahead over the next 24 months, we'll begin seeing the redevelopment of the current city hall. I look at all of that, and 28-story high rise, obviously transformational, but the jewel of all this might be the redevelopment of that existing city hall and the building right across from the state capitol. So we're really positive with that economic growth. The Lansing City Charter Commission, they've wrapped everything up. They've sent it on to Attorney General Netzel's office and then Governor Whitmer's office as well. The AG signed off on the language last week. We're anticipating the governor will do so shortly. So in November, city residents will be voting on an amended city charter. By all accounts, and talking to various different groups, everyone seems somewhat kind of supportive of the changes and some modification, kind of bringing it into a little bit more modern type of language in there and so forth. So we'll be watching that closely the rest of the year. State of the Region Benchmarking Report, kind of looking at our economic competitiveness against 11 like regions across the Midwest. And we released that in partnership with LEAP. So a lot of activity here the first half of the year locally. And I think just very quickly, kind of statewide, still looking at the budget. The July 1st sort of deadline, came and went without any type of budget, although the House did pass something out of their chamber. Senate took no action on it. And so kind of still the road funding is top of mind there, as is economic development incentives and education. So we'll certainly keep a close, watchful eye. By all accounts, seems like that's going to come down to the October 1 sort of deadline. But with any luck, we'll get something before then. A number of ballot proposals that have, in the first half of this year, are coming in to be a little bit more clear on what that's going to look like. Again, way out into 2026, but all this language and signatures being collected now and things we're keeping an eye on. It's an automatic ballot question in 2026 is a state constitutional convention that will be on there, but seeing other things about a minimum wage referendum. And if you remember earlier this year and the whole tipped minimum wage and the earned leave time and the bipartisan solutions, and we're seeing groups that are out there now potentially collecting signatures to get a minimum wage referendum on the ballot in 2026, and as well as income tax proposals. Gubernatorial and U.S. Senate races, next year for the first time in our state's history, we'll have an open U.S. Senate seat and a new governor. And so it's going to be a busy year there for that. And then just federally, when we look at things, the passing of the big beautiful bill here recently, and I think everyone is still unpacking it. And I think the one thing we've tried to say in talking to a lot of people, if nothing more that comes out of this, do we have some consistency now as we kind of look over the next 4 years, 8 years, 10 years, down there, but still kind of unpacking a lot, everything from the permanent installation now of the Tax Cuts and Job Act from 2017, but healthcare concerns and different pieces along there. But that I think that's still that sentiment of that economic uncertainty around the tariffs, inflation, rising healthcare costs are still kind of permeating out there with small businesses across the country as well. So that's a little bit, I think, from the first half of this year. And again, kind of keeping track of a lot of things as we get through the last half of 25 and 2026. And we say this every year. I mean, will be a big year, but next year, I think for our state, we're going to be kind of ground zero probably for that seventh congressional seat with Tom Barrett and some Democratic challengers there, the U.S. Senate seat. I think if the Republicans are ever going to win that seat, next year might be the year. I mean, Mike Rogers is back in, and he had a very close race with Senator Slotkin, and so what that's going to look like, and then on the gubernatorial side as well. So it'll be a busy 2026. So thank you, Chris, for the opportunity to be here today and talk a little bit about some of the things that we're following.
Yeah, well, we appreciate the update, but it's interesting because seventh place was healthcare costs in challenges for businesses. I'm going to make a prediction in the next 6 months, you're going to see that jump way up. My research shows that a lot of companies are going to see double-digit healthcare cost increases. And I keep an eye on that. And especially with dwindling revenues and even further dwindling profits, it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. So, Tim, again, thanks for jumping in. Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Keep things going there in Lansing. All right. So with that, great reports from everyone. Now that you've heard that and thought about the MFBI, are there any last questions from anybody that's on right now? And I want to remind you that when you're on and you look and there's 20 people here, when this thing goes to our podcast, gets put on our site, the audience for this exponentially grows. So you're not in a small audience by any stretch. You're just in the preliminary audience. So is there anything out there that anybody would like to ask? All right. Again, then, these events don't happen without our sponsors, and I want to thank LAFCU, Dean Transportation, Shaheen Chevrolet and Cadillac, Capital Region International Airport Fly Lansing, And a special thank you to Nakia and the Better Business Bureau for sponsoring this whole thing on a statewide effort. Again, the Michigan Future Business Index does not happen without Cinnaire, especially Mike Witt and Mark McDaniel, and of course, Michigan Business Network and Paul King's ROI Insight. Our events through the remainder of the year will be on small business and the popular business sports luncheon. Thank you to the MBN team. I always owe these people a great deal of thanks, and Sarah Mosier, Benjamin Robinson, Jimmy Green, and Jeff Mosier. Thank you for the hard work that you folks do. And finally, thanks to all of you for being a big part of this 2025 Virtual Speaker Series event. I know Watch the Free Press. Carol Kane is doing an article on the results of this and how it relates to other businesses around the state. And I believe that'll come out in the Free Press this week, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around Wednesday, Thursday, but grab it in there.
Yep.
So thank you all. And you can find this whole thing posted on the MichiganBusinessNetwork.com website. By the way, have you been checking out the MBN podcasts on Spotify, iHeartRadio, as well as iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and many other podcast platforms? Our audience is growing as it always has since our inception 13 years ago, and it continues to grow. So we're pleased with that and happy. These additional platforms allow us this kind of expansion. So thank you all for being with us. Wish we had better news, but it's better to know the truth than no news at all. So again, thank you all for being here, and let all of us at the Michigan Business Network wish all of you a very prosperous month. Take care. Talk to you soon.